on The Source.
The level of force that is used to stop African Americans is just unbelievable. I mean, he didn't have a vehicle. They rammed his, and they didn't ram it with a cop car. They rammed it with a regular car. He must have got emotional, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he's dead. Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Colby Owens.
Shané Darby.
And welcome to The Source. Once again, we are right here together. All of us are here for at last, as they say. You've been gone for the last 3 months. So what's going on and how's things been and what did you do in all that time you had off?
Right. So it wasn't 3 months, okay? So it was probably a few weeks. I'm in the Army National Guard. I'm a paralegal. So for 2.5 weeks, I had to do my paralegal job out in Wisconsin in a warlike environment, outside in the field, in a tent, sleeping in barracks for about 2.5 weeks. So I'm happy to be home. And it was good training. I'm glad it's over, you know. So it's something that you have to do when you're in the Army National Guard. You do about 2 weeks of summer training every summer. So it's just something I have to do every year. I've been in for about 12 years, so kind of just used to the motions of it now. And then after that, I had a birthday party, came home. My youngest daughter turned 7.
Oh, you didn't have one for yourself? It was for
No, my birthday's in February. It'll be 35. That's going to be, you're going to know when that's coming.
Okay, all right, good.
All right. And so my daughter turned 7, came home, went straight into mommy mode, straight into work mode. I was sick from the Wisconsin weather. Over there, it was cold. And the people I was in a tent with love AC. I'm like, it's cold outside and y'all putting on AC. All right. Okay. I was the only melanated one in there. Okay. Got sick. So, I came home. I'm sick. I'm dealing with everything, trying to jump into life. And I'm just feeling like regular. These last, yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Back into the swing of things. Kids had to start school, so I jumped right in. So I'm back.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and I'm glad even though it wasn't all vacation, you had to do some training and some other things, but we're glad you're back so that we will get back and see what's going on with the city and things of that nature. But while you were gone, we've been noticing an escalation in shootings in the city of Wilmington. And, this week, Wednesday, there was another shooting of a 14-year-old. You know anything about that, Colby?
Yeah, so that actually happened in the 9th Ward neighborhood. The young man was taken to the hospital in stable condition. And I believe it happened on North Jefferson Street, 23rd Street. Yep. 23rd and North Jefferson Street. Do you have any information? Or
No, nothing extra. They ain't talking to the council much. What you know is what I know. Okay. All right. So,
but then what is, I saw that in the paper about the 9th Ward. Is that the 9th District?
So the 9th Ward, we used to have 10 wards here in the city of Wilmington. Before they went to the councilmatic district model and created the 4 additional at-large positions when they shrunk the number of districts. The 9th Ward has always just kept its name as the neighborhood, right? They really dove into that, and I think the 9th Ward Civic Association has kept it going over there. So that's it's right next to the Triangle area. Some people may even include some parts of the Triangle. The lines are a little blurry, but it comes all the way over to Haynes Park and everything.
So what district is that then?
It's the second councilmatic district.
It's my district. Right. So it's North Wilmington.
Okay, all right. So I was trying to get a feel for that. So there's no more information they have on that at this time. But I just wish that we can get more. It seems like nobody wanted to report what happened. What have caused it. What so we can try to get the community to understand what is going on. I think that's strategic as well. And we got to really start asking our reporters, why don't you give more information to the public so that we'll know your child is over there playing and you putting your child in danger or in harm's way when you don't know what happened or what caused to happen, what happened. So I think it's going to be very important. But I want to make sure we also, 2 weeks ago, we had a shooting by the state police and here in Newcastle County over at the Lowe's, and a young man died. And there's there's some local news who did report on it. So we're going to look at that real fast, and then we're going to come back and just have a little conversation on that. We'll be right back.
Delaware State Police say a man was shot and killed by state troopers today. They say the man resisted arrest and put officers' lives in danger. This all happened behind a Lowe's home improvement store. CBS Philadelphia's Marcela Bayeto has the latest from Newcastle.
We're here on Hessler Boulevard. Now, this is where police tell us that shooting happened earlier on Thursday morning. Now, customers we spoke to say they had no idea that this happened just hours before they started shopping.
And I am scared to death now because I had no clue. And we went in there shopping.
Yeah.
We're not coming back.
Very scared. Very scary. Scared to come back here.
Customers were shocked to find out that around 7:30 Thursday morning, police say a known fugitive was shot and killed by Delaware State troopers after they say he attempted to steal from a home improvement store.
I don't comprehend all the crime that's going on. It's disgusting.
While the deadly incident scared some from shopping in the area, others weren't deterred by it.
But I'm not fearful. I'm going to do what I do, go where I go.
Officers say they arrived at the parking lot of Lowe's to find a man running away from the store with a shopping cart full of items. Officials attempted to stop him, but they say he got into a getaway car and hit a Delaware State police vehicle. After several attempts by officers to get him out of the car, they say he wouldn't comply.
Troopers shot the man when he continued to drive in a manner that placed officers in imminent danger.
The 28-year-old man was then taken to the hospital where he later died.
Today is a tough day for many people. A family lost a loved one, 2 troopers were injured, and a whole community has been impacted by a serious incident.
The 2 troopers were released from the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and police are still waiting to release the fugitive's name. Now, because of protocol, the troopers involved with this incident have been put on administrative leave. In Newcastle, Marcela Bayeto, CBS News, Philadelphia.
And we're back. As I shared, I have an issue with it always have to lead in death. It was a shoplifting situation. Mm-hmm. Now I saw some people on the video, they were saying they were afraid for their lives and it was the state police who did the shooting, it wasn't the person who
Correct.
did who was in the store. But I didn't understand all that. But what do you all know about that?
Yeah, so last week we talked about it on the show a little bit, but Tremaine Jackson was a 28-year-old man who was accused of shoplifting at the Lowe's on 13 by the DMV, right? He was accused of taking a box fan and a rug, right? Maybe $100 total, right?
That's probably
maybe
high.
that's being gracious, right?
Yeah.
That does not equate to taking someone's life.
Yeah.
What was going on? He had a previous. He's been accused of shoplifting before, so they put together this special task force, right? Special operations response team, and this is under the governor's task force, special task force. These officers mobilized all these resources, all these public dollars to go after someone who is stealing a box fan from a store that has insurance. Now, am I saying go steal? No, absolutely not. But they have insurance, right? We should not be using our resources in that way. But yet, they saw a black man, saw him as a threat, used an unmarked vehicle, very similar to what happened on Merlin Ave.
Absolutely.
Used an unmarked vehicle, rammed their F-150, and you can see it, you can watch the video, it's the silver F-150, not video, but see the photo. Silver F-150 into his car, into his vehicle, that pinned that vehicle against the guardrail. And somehow they got out and shot him point blank in the chest because they feared for his life because he hit their car, right? Yeah. A random car hits you, What are you going to do? They didn't approach him as cops.
Right.
Right? This is the same thing that happened on Maryland Ave.
Did he have a gun?
No. No weapons.
See, that's why I had to stop you, because that's the problem. The people, like when I saw some of the people who were on that that news showing where they were so afraid for their lives now. The reality of it is, I am concerned that every time there's an African-American male doing something, we're not justifying wrongdoing, but the level of force that is used to stop African-Americans is just unbelievable. I mean, he didn't have a vehicle. They rammed his, and they didn't ram it with a cop car. They rammed it with a regular car. He must have got emotional, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he's dead.
Mm-hmm. Now, these SORT teams, right, the Special Operations Response Team, they don't have body-worn cameras because they don't know how to make the body-worn camera work with the uniforms that they wear. They wear bulletproof jackets. I've seen it work in other states, but yet there's no body-worn camera footage apparently of the actual shooting, but they have body-worn camera footage of the officers who responded, the uniformed officers that responded. Again, the narrative that the state police put out, calling him a fugitive, they do that all to try to destroy the fact that this was a human being who needed help, who needed resources, and they answered with a bullet.
You know, and again, I can hear those who are more conservative saying, don't whitewash it. He was stealing. But he's not the only one who steals.
Oh, yeah, there's a ton of people who steal from that Lowe's there, and a lot of them are white.
Yes.
And a lot of them, they get arrested by one officer and get referred to the Newcastle County Heroes Help Program, right? A program to help those who are dealing with addiction, those who get caught doing things like this, stealing and stuff like that. That wasn't the response for the black man stealing. And that's what the issue is, right? We live in two different societies, and based off his skin color, he was deemed dangerous, even though he has never committed a dangerous act. Why stealing, apparently, right? Apparently stealing, but yet they still deemed it necessary to have lone guns out there and have multiple police units and departments all come together as a task force to go after him.
Yeah, and I think you need to really pay attention to what's going on, because it was him, Jermaine Jackson, this time, but it could be your child the next time. And we have to stop believing that if it's black crime, then it's so much worse. Jesse Jackson gave a speech at the Democratic National Convention in 35 years ago in 1988, and he talked about keep hope alive. I opened up my sermon with that a couple of weeks ago, and it's a shame, because a lot of this stuff that he was trying to say keep hope alive is going to get better. It has not. We still looked at it as a threat every time something goes wrong. And we still looked at it as they did it, so we need to now go after them. When I looked at even the people they interviewed on the clip we just gave, they were so those who were in the Caucasian, we're just afraid to come here. We're afraid. No, the police officers did the shooting. He did not have a weapon. He was still in a box fan. 1999. He was allegedly, because we don't know the facts of whether he was still or not. He was still in a throw rug, the ones that roll up. And did anybody try to stop him at the store? Yeah, absolutely not. Those things I looked into on purpose. So if no one tried to stop him, then was he really set up? So that's what my question is now. Was he set up to have a confrontation with the state police? And that's why I was really upset, and I was very, very angered. But it is what it is. But I do hope and trust that you all will start paying attention, because sometimes it's easy for us to sit in our couches and sit in our living rooms and act like, okay, that's just it's crime and I'm tired of it and they need to kill them. They need to do this, that, and the other. But when it becomes you or your family, that's when you're asking the community to speak up. You need to speak to your state representatives. You need to speak to your legislators, saying to them, it's time to put an end to this. And for them to say, and I'm glad it came back to me, that we don't know how to use the cameras on the uniforms we have, change the uniforms.
And I just want to add one last thing. I truly believe that there needs to be a federal investigation into the state police for a pattern of practice of abuses against the community. You just, these last 3 weeks, All 3 counties have had major incidents that have left someone either dead or extremely harmed and maimed, right? You have a 15-year-old in the hospital. You have a 17-year-old who was tortured by the state police. You have state police pinning false charges that they knew wouldn't stick on individuals in Kent. You have the head of the troop station down in Sussex, who's also the school board president, making racist comments and then attacking students. But yet nothing has been done.
Yeah.
Nothing has been done. It's time for an outside investigation to come in, just like they did in Louisville, and do a federal investigation from the DOJ. Right. Not here.
And one of the things I was trying to hope for too was an inspector general, and I was going to talk about that in our last segment today, because sometimes if we can't get the federal and people to come in to do their investigation, then if we had an inspector general, we can always say you need to investigate this, and then it will be without being controlled by certain people.
Because here's in the issue with, well, not the issue, but the reason why I'm calling for that and why you're calling for the inspector general for the audience is, listen, the people who is responsible for doing this investigation now are also responsible for prosecuting potentially these officers, are also responsible for defending these officers as well too. So there is a lot of conflict that can arise. Even though it will be different, technically attorneys leading different things, it's still a conflict. It still all falls under the DOJ, which is a huge issue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll leave that there for now, and we'll try to shift over to the COVID-19 now that we are finding ourselves in it's some kind of variant going on now, and the numbers are starting to tick up. And I was told that last week, First Lady Biden, she tested positive for COVID, and I know you had some information you wanted to share on this whole COVID.
Yeah, so the First Lady, she did test positive. Some other celebrities have tested positive recently, just highlighting the fact that COVID is still around, which I think some people are starting to forget. But as of right now, across the United States of America, right, COVID infections are up by 19%. And then also the deaths are up as well, too. Here's the thing. A lot of people went out and got their first vaccine and then thought they were good. That was almost 2.5 years ago, right? We're still fighting this, right? We still need that herd immunity. And this is probably just like the flu comes back every year and you have to get your vaccine for the flu. That's what COVID's going into, right? We're going to have to continue to update our vaccination as different variants continue to rise. There's about 3 different variants going through right now that are highly contagious, that the CDC is tracking. There will be a new COVID vaccine coming out. They said probably end of September, early October, which means it'll probably be out for mass production around Halloween time or early November time. So again, just making sure you stay vigilant and keep, whether it's putting on a mask or just socially distance, make sure you're keeping up with your health as well too. We know how hard COVID-19 hit Black and brown communities, not just across America, but especially here in Delaware, and how, we're still suffering from that. A lot of those workers, right, who were deemed essential or, emergency workers during the pandemic, they still have not recovered. The ones who kept this nation going when everyone else got to be at home and on Zoom and locked down, the grocery store workers and stuff like that, they are still not recovering. Their hours aren't back to what they should be. And they still have to deal with a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah, well, and I did share with my wife this week that I'm going to go ahead and get that extra, that new. I got all of my COVID shots. I never had it, so I guess it must have worked for me. But I'm going to definitely get the shot. I think it's the end of September, I was told. And I'm also going to get the flu shot because something happened last year rather. I did not catch the flu, and I never had a flu shot before until last year. So I think I'm going to definitely do that as well. But I do hope that you will take serious this whole new variant that's coming out with COVID. You don't want to be caught unguarded. When we were hopeless in this crisis, people went past their beliefs of not being vaccinated and things of that nature just so they could survive that COVID. That one shot may not be enough in order to keep your immune system to where it needs to be. I hope that you will spend some time, go ahead and get it done. And it's still free at this point. Am I right?
Yeah.
So it's still free at this time. So I hope that you will take the opportunity to do that. The last thing I want to share today is the prison system. And I open this up for an open discussion. The prison system have failed us miserably. But now we're in a bad dilemma. There were some Facebook posts that was not true. They were false, saying that guy was here on Delaware Avenue. But how do you escape from prison up a wall?
Spider-Man. But yeah, no, he climbed. Just a little background. There was a prisoner who escaped last Wednesday from a facility, I believe, up in Westchester. Yeah. But while he was outside for recreation time, he was able to scale a wall and get out of the prison. It's been 8 days now, and they still have not located him. There's been some surveillance videos that are like seen him in different locations, but he's still up in that area as the last surveillance video showed. But yeah, no, I think it was Next Door, where at first someone thought that someone walking down the block was him, and they posted it.
And that's dangerous in itself.
It's extremely dangerous. It could get someone hurt.
Yeah,
and misidentity can.
Like that.
And matter of fact, one of the staff persons here came running out saying, "Oh my God, he's on Delaware Avenue. That's not too far from where I live." And I said, "Where did you get that from?" And they said they just saw it on Facebook. It was just posted. And stop believing everything on Facebook is the gospel. Please understand. I can go post something right now. Doesn't mean it's real. Doesn't mean it's right. And then you got to also watch out with this whole new AI stuff, where they just be doing things. But that is very, very dangerous, and it's very, very scary when people are putting things out. But don't believe everything you hear. Try to find out whether or not it's true. The last time there was some video or surveillance of him, he was still in the Southern Chester County section of Pennsylvania, which is up there. He said Westchester, but it's a little around the Cheney University area. What's that place where we go every year with the Longwood Gardens and things of that nature? So it's all in that area. And I just wanted to make sure that we dealt with that because I don't want people to be scared that he's down the street. And lock your doors, lock your cars. Make sure that you are safe and your family. We'll be right back.
Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube every Sunday by typing Zion Fair Baptist Church.
Oh my God, help me today. Which means every storm is a school. Every trial is a teacher. Every experience is an education. And every difficulty is development.
We are Wilmington's most exciting church. Tune in at 8 a.m. every Sunday for our worship services. Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live by typing Zion Fair Baptist Church. We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
And we're back. Well, we haven't heard from Shané Scoop in a while. What's going on with Shané Scoop?
Yeah, so I'm trying to get up to date reading legislation and trying to figure out what's going on with all my projects as I come back. But one thing I do want to talk about is while I was away, before I left, my house was tested for lead, right? So there's a Newcastle County no lead program. And anyone within Newcastle County who lives in these 5 zip codes, 19703, 19720, 19801, 19802, 19805, and 19806, you can contact Newcastle County and they'll come test your home if it has lead, and then they'll do a remediation removal process. So that took about 3 weeks. So they started the day I left for military. So when I came home, I could not go straight home. I had to go stay with my mama for a little bit. So my life is...
That was a joy.
That was a joy?
Sure.
You know, she's all right. She all right. You know, she ain't bothered me too much. Shout out to my mom. So through that process, I was able to go into my home Friday, and then I went away to a water park in New Jersey. So I really haven't been in my home really until Sunday night. So like I'm really like putting things back together, but they were able to remove all the lead in my home. And if you know how serious lead could be, in regards to health for children, for seniors, for anyone who lives in the home, I'm just excited and thrilled that there was a program that able to do all of that work for free in my home and removing it. Okay. On top of that, they have a Healthy Home Production Grant Program. So if you go through the lead program, they also ask, is there anything else in your house that needs to be done? Right? So I was able to get some other projects done in my home. Of course, it wasn't like anything to do with like facade or making things look beautiful. But like I had like an issue with my toilet that needed to get done. They were able to do that. I had a leak somewhere. They were able to fix that. Something going on in my backyard. They were able to fix that. So on top of removing the lead, they'll also look at some other healthy home hazards and things to do with the bathroom, electrical issues, anything that may be lighting issues, pests, food safety, unsafe windows and doors. They will replace and do. I already had up-to-date windows and doors, but I was able to get some other things done in my home through this program. At no cost to me. I just had to...
and it wasn't because you're a city council person?
No, this is because
you live in a zip code.
I live in the zip code. It is income based. And I have 3 people in my home, so I'm a 4-person household. So I qualify based on the little bit of money I make in my life. You know?
You have 1,000 jobs.
Yeah, so I was able to qualify with a 4-person household. I am a homeowner, but it's also for renters. So renters can contact them too, and they'll go through the process with your landlord. While they're doing the removal and remediation of the lead and or the repairs, they will put you into a home if you're a renter. So they have renovated other homes throughout the city, and they also have some Airbnbs that you're able to go into while those 2-3 weeks they are able to remove.
But if you're an owner,
if you're a homeowner, they ask you where you going.
So I'm kind of glad. I mean, not glad because you want everybody to be treated fairly, especially if it's based on income. But if you are a renter, at least you won't be inconvenienced again because you got to work through your landlord, I guess, in order to make that happen. I think that is really key. And I want to just share before we end your segment that lead poisoning is very serious. For those of you who don't know, schools now require that a blood lead test is given. You don't want your child to miss school or to be turned away from school when they require that and request that of you. They probably already, many of you watch and said they've already requested that. So, but you forget about the requirement of the school, your child's well-being, because it is fatal that you take care of the level of how much lead is in your blood. And I think that's really good. Newcastle County, hats off to you. I'm glad you were able to test the project. And now, so when they come in, they scrape, I'm sure, get all that lead out. Do they repaint and everything else?
Yeah, they repainted and everything. Excellent. So I went home to most of the lead was in my baseboards and around the border of my windows. So a lot of that, I wish they was able to repaint everything. But they repainted with the work that they did, and it was able to repair some other small things I had in my home that needed to be done.
And what is the second group called?
Healthy Homes.
Healthy Homes.
Yep, that's Healthy Homes.
So some of the critical things that needs to be done, you talk about electrical, which is very costly. So you want to make sure you bring those things up.
Lead and mold.
Mold is exceptionally costly.
Yep, it said falls in bathroom, electrical hazard, structural collapse, lighting issue, pests, food safety, unsafe windows.
Maybe we should have sent them over 8th and Adam. Maybe we should have sent them over Adams Street. You think we should have sent them over to Adams Street? I don't think all that stuff was over there.
Yeah, I think
he could have got that done for free now.
Yeah, now he way past that now. But yeah, no, lead is serious because it can cause high blood pressure, brain and kidney issue, reproductive health issues.
Yes. Stop there. Go back to say them again. They can cause
high blood pressure,
which is important for you African Americans and those who are Latinos who are listening to our show.
Brain and kidney issues.
Brain and kidney issues, and want to know. So a lot of times they're still trying to figure out whether or not that whole Alzheimer's is connected to trauma as well as blood issue things that are in the blood. So
then reproductive health issues. So it passes on to your child, right?
Right. Yeah.
So those are some of the issues. So if we could try to get lead out of our homes, out of our schools, our water, all of those things, then we'll just be a healthier community. And we already know the Black community, we have a lot of health issues. We're highest rate for almost every single thing except for I think one cancer. And it's just disheartening. So hopefully this is a step to make our homes a little bit better.
It is. This is really great. And thanks for that reporting because that helps someone. Again, that's Newcastle County lead program. If you need to look it up on the website, you can certainly go to the Newcastle County website. Go ahead and apply. If you're not a homeowner, you can apply and they will work with your landlord to make sure it happens because you should not have to live with lead.
Yes.
All right. We'll be right back.
New guests, new conversations, new stories every Sunday at 11 a.m. Grab your cup of coffee and tune in with Dr. Curry for our weekly episodes of Coffee with Curry.
Tune in at 8 a.m. every Sunday for our worship services. Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live by typing Zion Fair Baptist Church. We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
And we're back. Well, here we go, Colby Corner. What's going on? Don't beat up the people too much. In fact, before you get into your corner, I had somebody came up to me and said to me, Pastor Curry, I met Colby. Dang, I used to be Pastor Curry, it's good to meet you. But now they met Colby. All right, so what's going on with Colby's Corner?
Yeah, so first I want to talk about the upcoming deadline that we have for a government shutdown. So when they passed the funding bills last year, the deadline is September 30th at midnight. Okay. If they don't pass the 12 bills needed, then the government will shut down. As of today, right, the Congress has only passed one of those 12 bills. So on Thursday morning, the White House has put a formal request in for a short-term funding resolution to be passed to keep the government open, to give them more time to work on passing an actual funding bill. This has been used in the past.
Right, but so for the people who watch, I want to keep it slow. How does that short-term spending bill work? To get it passed for the House, do you need a supermajority? Do you need just 51 votes? What do you need?
You need a majority, and it has to be it would keep funding at the same levels, right? So the same monthly breakdown is what it would be for, and it would be maybe a 30-day or 90-day. I don't know the time period of the one that they're asking for, to be honest, but it would just extend that time period to give them more time.
But how many of the representatives have to vote in order to pass that type of
50%.
Okay,
50%
51
plus one.
Okay,
yeah.
I just want to make sure because I know you can find some Republicans who will definitely do it, and you got some who are right wingers and they are just not caring about anything.
Correct.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then in the Senate, of course, it's the 60 vote threshold to get it onto the floor to actually vote for it. Then you need the 51 votes there, which we have 50 Democratic senators, 49 Republican senators, and one that's independent. And then we also have the vice president, who's a Democrat, who could break a tie as well, too. So again, the House hasn't even returned back to work yet from their summer break, their August break. They won't return until September 12th, which is only going to leave them like a 3-week window to work on this. You have some people who are back working on it, but all 4 caucuses in the 2 different chambers have agreed that the short-term funding continuing resolution is probably the best way to go forward to continue the federal funding at the current levels and also avoid a shutdown.
I need my money.
Yeah, you need your money?
Yeah, because if a shutdown, military won't get paid.
Well, I'm going to send the word, shut it down.
But that's actually a very good point, because even though we would be in a shutdown, right, they still expect our military to show up and do their job, either our reserves as well too.
And I think one of the things that's really critical we need to start pushing, and I know I don't get out and fight for a lot of things, but one of the things that need to, in order to make sure we have a budget passed every year, it need to tie it to Congress and Senate's pay. It needs to be tied to their pay.
Because it impacts my pay.
Because you are a working person every day. And for them not to feel it, if they go to a shutdown, they don't really care. They're divorced of it. If they're not feeling it. So I just think that we need to start speaking up as citizens, as voters, as taxpayers, put the president's salary, put the Congress as well as the Senate salary to that. And I guarantee we always have a passed budget.
Next, I want to talk about something I've been following for a while now. Back in February 7th, I believe, there was a ruling that came down that in a 5-4 ruling from the Supreme Court that saw Justice Roberts join with the liberal judges and said that the GOP drawn district map in Alabama diluted the power of the Black citizens of Alabama, and that in order to fix that, so that it does not violate Section 2 of the Voter Rights Act, they must redraw their districts to form a second Black majority district. And again, this was groundbreaking because so much has changed since the Shelby County versus Holder case back in 2013 under the Obama administration that unfortunately Holder lost, and it has kind of broken down the VRA a little bit. It has led to less kind of oversight. So this was a huge win. Fast forward to maybe a few months ago, a map comes out from the Alabama GOP. They draw a map again. And instead of having, because what does majority mean? 50%, right? Right. Instead of having a map that's 50%.
Well, 51%.
Right. That has that. They drew a map where African Americans made up 42% and white Americans made up 43%. And then they had Hispanic and Asian make up that remaining amount, diluting the vote again. So on Wednesday, a ruling came down from the federal court yet again, after the appeal had went to the Supreme Court, but a ruling came down yet again, striking down this new map, saying that now it's going to go to a special map drawer who's going to design the map to make sure that they hit their mark of 2 majority Black districts in Alabama that give African Americans the ability to elect their representation. This means that the people in Mobile, Alabama are most likely going to have for a first time an African American representative that represents them. And again, currently the breakdown in Alabama, they have 7 congressional districts. One of them are held by African-American woman Terry Swalwell, who has been a very big advocate for this over the years. This also has a lot of implementations for other states as well too. Louisiana is currently in the process of redrawing their maps down there. Julia Letlow is probably going to lose her district, and what they're probably going to have to do in Louisiana to make it 2 majority black districts is split up Baton Rouge and New Orleans, 2 places I love going. But that's kind of what's going to happen down there with that. You also have a court case going forward in Florida as well too, where that northern African-American district, District 5, was diluted into 3 different districts to create 3 super Republican districts around the area and dilute that black vote. That is also going forward in a court case. And then also South Carolina, they're moving forward with their court case as well too, to create another second majority black district to give black voters their voice.
Yeah, it's interesting how they strategically did it, where they could say, okay, it's minority, but they diluted it to the place where it still did not give the black representation they needed to. I think that's great. I'm sorry.
Next, I want to talk about the Biden administration announced a huge win for environmental justice advocates and environmental and climate change advocates as well too. So he is canceling all the remaining oil and gas leases that were issued under the previous Trump administration in the West Arctic area. In the West Arctic area, that's Alaska, right? You have the Gannett people who live up there, who are the native Alaskans who have been fighting against this. Against pipelines being built, more drilling and all this other stuff. This is a huge win for the native people who live in that area and climate activists who have been standing in solidarity with them as well too. This will preserve Arctic lands and wildlife as we're seeing the world kind of heat up, right? We've had some of the hottest days on record right here these last few weeks, but this is going to go a long way and hopefully trying to reduce our overall green emission gases and carbon footprint. This is going to protect 13 million acres of Western Arctic land. So it's a huge
I think that's probably why he's getting such pushback from some of the oil folks, because this is something that is not going to be acceptable. But they're not going to just lay down and die on this one.
No, and this is a good first step. There's still a lot of other projects that need to be canceled, especially projects where you have gas pipelines or just any pipelines that are being built through native land, right? Reservations and things like that that are completely destroying ecosystems. Right now, America is one of the biggest polluters in the world, right? But yet the people who are on the front line of some of those impacts, yes, we're dealing with a lot of hurricanes, a lot of tornadoes, a lot of flooding, earthquakes and stuff like that. But those smaller countries who are usually majority minority, well, in our eyes, they're minorities, but majority of them look like us. They're the ones who are actually being impacted the most by some of this climate change right now, right? Especially when it comes to flooding. But I truly believe that it's time to declare a climate emergency and actually start getting stuff done and holding people accountable. We need to transition more to green energy than continue in this way that we're going with drilling and fracking and all this other stuff. And one of the things that continuously comes up is, we need to rely on coal. We need to rely on natural gas. We need to rely on oil. It is not sustainable. It is slowly killing the earth, and we have nowhere else to go.
Absolutely.
There was actually a study done by Yale not long ago that released that in the next 1,000 years, you're going to see so much of the ice caps melted because of the heat that Delaware will start to become underwater. Now, in 5,000 years, Delaware, on this pace, if we stay on this pace right now, in 5,000 years, Delaware will be gone. Florida will be gone. Cities like Philadelphia, New York, Boston will be gone. Cities on the West Coast like LA, like Sacramento, like San Diego will be gone. San Francisco will be an island, right? Seattle will be gone. Vancouver up in Canada will be gone. So if we want to leave something for our next generation and their generation and their generation, we have to take action now to stop some of the pollutant that we are pitting out there into the community.
I got it. Okay.
And then lastly, I'm going to bring it back home to Wilmington. So the city of Wilmington has been pushing all different narratives. Oh, we need to get rid of residency requirements because we have all these vacant positions, right? Well, no, maybe you have so many vacant positions. And when you look at the breakdown, when they want to use, oh, well, we lost someone to Newark. Well, yeah, no, that person went to Newark because that starting salary was almost $15,000 more than what they would get here in the city of Wilmington. The city of Wilmington is now looking at the pay scale for some of their workers. There's, as across the board, there's about 14% vacancy rate throughout the city of Wilmington of city jobs, right? This is whether it's union, non-union, all together about 14%. There has been multiple resolutions put forward through the Finance Committee that recently passed out the Finance Committee that again would add an additional $150,000 that was not previously budgeted, but it goes to addressing some of the pay gaps that have been created over the years. Do I think it goes far enough? Absolutely not. It is a good start, but I also would like to see the full-on breakdown of where this money truly is going to go and making sure it goes to the actual workers who are making the city run, and not just the supervisors.
That was one of my...
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, so there's someone had proposed or did a breakdown of the pay scale, and they showed that people who were in higher up, more those manager positions, they saw bigger increases happening for them versus the people, the workers, the, I guess, less manager, managerial positions where you saw either small increases or actually their pay scale or pay rates actually decrease.
Wow.
So that was concerning for me. I want everyone to get a pay raise. Like I want everybody to get paid, right? But not that.
Because the people who really are doing the work are the people who are in the clerical positions, the people who are in the janitor positions, and they're doing the work, keeping the place looking good, keeping the place running. A lot of times the CEO don't even have a clue on what's going on, but it's the administrative assistant who runs everything. But that pay is minute compared to what the other person's pay. When I hear what some of these CEOs make, it just mesmerizes me when you got people who are working very hard. So if the city is really serious about attracting good people to the city, as well, and with all these new facilities they're building, we'll have places to house them, and they really want to, because I don't believe that we should move everybody out of the city. Now I know I forgot whether it was you or somebody was for getting rid of the residency requirement. I am not for it. I just believe that we need to pay our people right, and if you pay them right and live here, it becomes a community, and our dollars are recycled in our community as opposed to somebody who lives in Newark or live in another state. So I hope they are going to really look at this seriously, and I hope it don't take 10 years to do it.
No, I agree. And they're supposed to do a part 2 of this, which will include elected officials. So I think that's really key and important. I think a lot of people
it depends on which elected officials they use, because some of them don't think y'all deserve nothing.
Right.
I'm not saying y'all, I mean the workers.
Right. No. So I think a lot of people think I'm like sitting in a city council 40 hours a week in the office upstairs, and I'm not, right? Most city councils, we have to work full-time jobs just to be a city council. The pay is nowhere near livable. No one can't live off of that, even as a single person. But having a family, is no way you can live off a city council budget. And then I also think the conversation, if we're going to talk about pay, we got to talk about how many people are on city council. We have too many people. In other big cities, there's like 9, like in Philadelphia or something, right?
Yeah, I was trying to put that in my head. How many does Philly have? Because we do have a lot of people.
We have too many city council people, and the pay is not good. And I see why the talent we have and people who are attracted to being city council. That's why it looks the way it looks. It's usually that's why government is usually older people who are retired, because there's no way a regular working professional with or without a family would be able to even live off of that pay, right? And it's not fair. We have to live too. It's no way to say, oh, this should be a volunteer. No, this is real work. This is not play. This is like real work. And to be an efficient city council, it's no way that we're all operating the way we are to be efficient the way that we're supposed to as the city of Wilmington. So part of the reason, or my thing, is that we have too many city council and we're not getting paid at a rate that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think that what needs to happen is, one, I agree with it. You may need to cut the size of it down, but you also need to look at the fact that the state representatives, for example, I think they made $40,000+ for just working for 3 months. Or
yeah,
2
we're
months.
not nowhere near
42 days.
I know the salary of the city council, but they work how many days?
42 days.
For 40, so they make $1,000 a day,
pretty much.
And I understand, and I'm saying that they can take a raise too, but the point is you got to start respecting people, respecting the title and the position they are in. You're legislating, you're trying to push things, so you got to read. You one of those people who read your legislation.
Yeah,
you don't just vote. You don't just vote on it and say, okay, what do y'all want to do?
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and I agree.
Like in Philadelphia, right?
Okay.
Philadelphia has 17 different council members.
Yeah.
They make over $100,000.
Yeah.
It's full time.
Yeah.
They have a dedicated staff, right? They don't have to share staff, but it's their full time job.
Yeah.
Here in Wilmington, it's part time, but
it's
they
really
have
full time.
It's
on paper.
It's
part time.
It's paid part time.
Yeah,
but you have the same workload,
right,
as a council person in Philadelphia.
But also, I want you to know, you said 17 city council persons.
That city
and
is
the city of Philadelphia is larger. It's the size.
It's five times bigger.
Like it's the size of the state of Delaware. So it becomes important that
still smaller.
It becomes important that we recognize what you said at first, and that is first we need to lessen it. But then forget if they don't ever lessen it. You need to respect the salary of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it needs to be full time,
and it should be, because that way we can get a better legislation. And it should be full time too, because I think what it does.
It
with
is
the staff,
full time. I'm always a city council person. I can't walk in the grocery store without being a city council person.
Yeah.
People will talk my head off about a piece of legislation, and I'm sitting here grocery shopping with my kids. It's never off, right? Yeah. I can go out with my friends. That's why I try not to go out in Wilmington. Mm. One time I went out, someone's like, "Hey, it's the mayor." Like, what, bro? Like, I'm not the mayor.
Yeah, this week you're the mayor.
Like, so it's like you're constantly always on. Like in the middle of a bar, someone is asking me about legislation or something. Like you're always on. You're never off.
Even when you're out on a date, like let's say if you go with your boo.
Yes, even that too. Wow. Like you're not off.
Okay. Let's increase the salaries. You have anything else you have for us today?
No, that's all I have for today.
Look, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back. We'll be right back.
New guests, new conversations, new stories every Sunday at 11 a.m. Grab your cup of coffee and tune in with Dr. Curry for our weekly episodes of Coffee with Curry.
And we're back. Real quick, we only have a couple minutes left in our show today, and I just wanted to make sure that I try to end until we get to the voting of 2024, sharing the importance of voting. Mm-hmm. And there's so much going on right now, and our focus, since our show is in Newcastle County, but mainly in the Wilmington area, is to really make sure people are paying attention. No one in the city council have said they're going to run for re-election. I've not seen much, but we did see that there's one person running for mayor. We're not sure if the current mayor is going to run. We're hearing all of these rumors of another person who may come down a couple levels and run for mayor. I don't know, but I need every person out there, and y'all can join in any way you want to. We must vote. We cannot take anything for granted. Trump won over Hillary because they thought she had it in the bag. He shocked them. I'm asking every person, get registered, vote. I'm going to have voter registration at our church, and I'm going to encourage others to do so. All of the events I go to, I'm going to make sure people are getting registered, because at the end of the day, we must make sure our power is felt in the box. Why should a person vote is the question I want to ask both of y'all.
What?
Why should a person
go
vote?
First.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, specifically for me, I'm just focused on local government.
Right.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I think that Wilmington is either going to go left or right, right? And what we're going on now, I think it's a lot of focus on outsiders moving into the city, development not happening into communities who need it the most. The community is not being centered from my perspective, right? And I think if people do not vote and we allow that to happen, Wilmington will change.
Yes.
It will not be a predominantly African-American city. It will not, we will continue to see violence. We will continue to see these things rise if we do not change that. And we need to vote to change who the mayor is, who is a totally different mindset. And we need to also think about there's 13 council seats. So right now, I'm not even going to talk about voting. We need good people to run, right? I can only do so much on city council. I am one person. Sam Guy, Councilmember Sam Guy, told me one of the best advice I ever had heard was that city council or politics is a team sport, right? And that's so true. One person cannot be on city council, the lone wolf, saying we need to do this for the community. I need at least 6 other people on city council. So that means 6 people who want to run for office to get into those seats. And then I need people to vote. So we could say vote, vote, vote. But if we only have the same person in the 3rd district seat and she doesn't have anyone running against her, what does that mean?
I understand.
Right? So we need good people to run. Then we need people who are going to go out and vote for those good people to run. Yeah,
I had a conversation with, and I'll ask you in a second, but I had a conversation with a couple entrepreneurs downtown, African American, and I'm shocked to find out that they were made promises and the promises were not delivered on. I'm shocked that when the election went around last year, not last year, but in 20, I think it was the last time we had an election, that they were promised that, if this administration gets in, a certain group get in, we're going to make sure this happens for you, and it didn't happen. The morale is down when it comes down to downtown with African American entrepreneurs that are down there. But I just don't understand it. Go ahead.
So, I mean, how many is left down there? Because they're pushing.
That's why I'm careful about what I say. I'm careful what I say.
That's all I had to say on that one. But I think it's effective civic engagement is the key, right? Yeah. So people talk about voting, but it's a 366 on a leap year, right? It has to be year round, being engaged, understanding what's happening on any given level, right? So if you live in the city of Wilmington, be engaged with the committee meetings. Be engaged in what legislation is going up. Understand where the people who are supposed to be representing you, where they're at on the issues. If you live outside the city of Wilmington, go to a county council meeting because they don't stream them live, right? You have to be in the chamber to listen to a county council meeting or to a committee meeting earlier in that day. It's Tuesdays, every other Tuesdays. If you don't care about county and land use issues, well, everything else is pretty much either going to be either your school board or your state and state rep and state senate at the General Assembly, right? They live stream all that. Pay attention. Go online, log on to it. They keep a log of everything. So you could go back. You could watch what they did in January, right? You have some extra time at night after dinner or while you're eating dinner and you want to watch something, go watch it. Go see where exactly the person who's supposed to be representing you is on things. And then when it comes time to vote, right? And there is 1 or 2, 3, 4 people in the race other than the person who is currently in the seat. Look at their platforms.
But one of the things I want to do, and I'm glad you said that, is that what I would like to do for the last segment of our shows is we're going to have to help. Because there's some people who don't really pay attention. You say, well, all you're going to do is direct them into a certain direction. Well, the problem is if people knew some things, they wouldn't have voted the way they voted even the last time. So what we're going to do is we're going to start saying on this issue, this is how this person voted.
Yep.
On that issue. Because I think that's one of the things the press used to be really good about. Sharing people's positions. We don't have to make it. They did it. So since some people will never be able to go and get the information, we want to bring it to them. So we're going to start doing the investigation to see where people also, as people are starting to announce, we want to start sharing what their accomplishments are, as well as some of the things that they voted on and voted against.
Oh, absolutely.
And supported, and then let them defend themselves.
Right, and we did that in 2022. I'm glad we're going to do it again in 2024.
Yeah.
And break it all the way down from city council, from the state all the way down to city council.
And that's going to be something we're going to commit ourselves to. Listen, we are out of time today, and this has been really a good show, and good to have you back again. And we'll see you next week. I hope, unless you're going to go across the world and saving the world, I always say with you. But thank y'all so very much. Is there anything else left on your plate today, Brother Colby?
Nothing else that I have.
Anything else left on your plate, Sister Shané?
Nothing at all.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for continuing to watch us, to continue to share how you thoroughly enjoy our show. Stay with us. We're going to continue to make things happen for you. Until the next time, this is Dr. Curry.
This is Colby Owens.
Shané Darby.
See ya.
Take care, y'all.
Talk soon.